What's up, everybody? It's Glenn and Big Jack back with the best bets of the NFL weekend video. The regular season's over. We're into the wild card round of the playoffs. I'm glad to tell you that both me and Jack finished above 50% on the season. Something that hasn't happened yet, specifically because I have not finished above 50% on the season until this year. It came down to the final pick. I was 2 games above 500 heading into this week. My first two picks of the weekend were losers, and it came down to the final game win, and I finished slightly above 50% or 500 and lose, and I would have finished under it. The decider was Jack and I both on the Bills. Jack and I both on the Bills to finish the season 2-0 on the same side. Crazy, it only happened twice this year, but both times. The first time was a no sweat, and this one kind of felt like it was always in control as well, in my opinion. Um, Jack finishes better than me. I finished at 51% on the year. Jack finishes at almost 53%. I got him at 52.8%. Jack, how do you feel about our performance this year?
Very mediocre. I think the those roughly 500 records speak for themselves. To cover the vig, you got to be picking at that 52% clip. We talk about those numbers all the time. Or maybe not all the time, but throughout the year we mention them here and there. 52% to be profitable. 55% is kind of the ideal state. You're having pretty good success. 57 is sort of where that professional range starts to kick in. And then if you get anywhere near 60 or north of that, you are, you could start putting food on the table for your family. So, yeah, we, not bad. I think it was my worst year, but still, just down the stretch, we both really faltered. You were in a position, I think, with maybe about a month, 5 weeks left. You were like around 62, 63%, just setting the world on fire. Sort of fell off a little bit. I was never that high, but I was pretty close to that like 58, 59% range. And I think the last 3 weeks I hit one and two, one and two, one and two. So, not the finish you wanted, but we had some strong runs throughout the course of the year, and at least, it was a respectable regular season. Hopefully, we can push it into the green a little bit in the playoffs here. Now that we enter the funnest time of year, but also, sad. It's sad but sweet because there's only 13 games left, 13 more football games for about 9 months. So enjoy them.
Yeah, playoffs are here. Really, not that much football left until we get to the off-season craziness. Gotta enjoy it. That's no doubt about it. And I do feel similarly to you, where I do feel like we kind of down the stretch let things slip away because, like you said, at about the 10, 11 week mark, I think I was sitting really strong on the season, and then just a steady decline after that. I feel like you had a little bit more ups and downs, obviously more ups and downs, but um, I feel like we let a few get away there towards the end. But that being said, all we can do now is control the weeks going forward. So let's get right into the playoffs picks this wild card weekend. I'm going to open it up with a team you liked a lot this year. I think the Cleveland Browns go to Houston and take out the Texans. They're 2 point favorites. I think they handle business. I could see this being a double digit win. That Browns defense is tenacious. They'll be out ready to play harder at the playoffs. Um, I think the Browns offense also is a good matchup for them against that Houston defense. I think they will be able to establish dominance through the run game. I like the Browns to go to Houston and lay a whooping on the Texans.
Yeah, well, the thing is now that we're in a wild card weekend and there's only 6 games on the board, there's going to be a lot more crossover here. So I'll I'll get right into it on my end. My first pick, I'm going to be on the opposite side of that. Um, from a Browns better's perspective, it's -2. Yeah, rookie quarterbacks combined with a rookie head coach, that doesn't really bode well historically in their first playoff game. And obviously the Browns just went down there. CJ Stroud wasn't playing a couple weeks ago, but Mari Cooper went absolutely crazy. They killed him, smacked them by like, I want to say they won by like 4 or 5 touchdowns. It was just an absolute rout down in Houston, which is where the game's at tomorrow. I will say about the defense, Cleveland's defense gets after it. Myles Garrett's an absolute game changer, probably going to be your defensive player of the year. Um, and Jim Schwartz is a defensive coordinator, likes to dial up a lot of man coverage, which, CJ Stroud's been pretty good in general, but he's been absolutely killing zone defenses. So he does, I don't know if struggle is the right word against man, but he seems to have more of a difficult time against man defenses than he does against the zone, which is Jim Schwartz's forte. So I think that all sort of bodes well for the Cleveland Browns. Not to mention that I think Will Anderson's pretty banged up. I want to say the Texans have another key defensive player whose name is escaping me right now, who's also
One of
dealing
their
with some
defensive
injuries.
tackles.
Yeah, so that line, that front, is dealing with some stuff. I think there's a chance Ward doesn't play for the Browns, but they've dealt without him for a good portion of the season. Flacco's setting the world on fire. I just think it's a weird pick where a lot of the money is coming in on the Browns, but you're getting some of that odd reverse line movement where it's gone from 3 to 2, even though more money's coming in on that Cleveland side. I just think something's amiss here. I'm going to take Houston -2, or excuse me,
Plus
Houston
two. Yeah.
+2 at home. I kind of like them getting a little bit of juice on the money line, but I'll take the points.
Right on. Obviously, we're opposite this week. Not too much I could add to that. Um, but I really like the Browns this week, so we'll see how that ends up working out.
Yeah,
Second
I
pick.
mean everything I said on from like matchup standpoint on paper is like the Browns is certainly would convince yourself that that's the lean. I just think the money in this one's a little peculiar.
I'll also say I sneaky like the Browns as like a dark horse to make a run. They would
Yeah, I do.
have they would have
I
Baltimore
do.
week 2. They'd have Baltimore most likely, I should say. I guess if like Pittsburgh or Miami win, not necessarily for sure Baltimore, but um, I like the Browns as a team that if they get right and stay right, like they could be one of those strong defenses, good run game, and I think Flacco offers a little bit more even at this old age than just like a pure game manager. That
Yeah.
I like the Browns at I think it's plus 2,800 to be a potential team that could make a run towards the Super Bowl. So just gonna throw that out there. But all right, pick 2 of the week. The number worries me. I wish it was 3. Um, but I'm going to lean into it and say this number shouldn't be at 4.5. I'm going to take the Chiefs -4.5 at home versus the Miami Dolphins. I can see this as a Miami wishes they weren't even on the field in negative temps against the Kansas City Chiefs. I think the Chiefs get right for the playoffs. I think they're poised for a run. Yes, they have not looked like the same old Chiefs this year, but that being said, I think their defense is as strong as it's been. I think they could play some tough playoff football. Well coached team, good quarterback, strong defense. I'd like them to take care of business against Miami this week. 4.5 scares me a little bit, but I'm on Chiefs -4.5.
Yeah, I'm not on that game at all. It's a tough one for me. I think you bring up good points about. Yeah, I know it's a playoff game, but with it's possibly being -9 at kickoff, I'm not sure how much Miami's really gonna want to be there. I'm sure it's going to neutralize some of their weapons with the speed and Waddle and Tyreek Hill. Um, I don't know. It's just also tough for me to back a Kansas City team that's been so poor, excuse me, on the offensive side of the ball all year. There's that story out there this week that they tried to bring Eric Bieniemy back in to help with this playoff run, but the Redskins owner rejected the request or whatever, or blocked it. I'm not really sure how all the ins and outs of that whole situation work. I just thought it was kind of a funny story that like it's clearly not working, and they're looking for to sort of revitalize some of the magic that they've had in years past. But I don't know, Miami's so banged up. I just for me, you know, I probably lean taking the points in a game where I think Miami might be able to run the ball, but it's just too tough. I'm not going to bet against Mahomes, but I don't know. I have a tough time believing that all of a sudden the Chiefs are just going to flip the switch. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Also, just a couple other points I failed to make is Miami hasn't really stepped up other than I think one game this year. When they step up in competition, they don't get it done. They're not really a physical team. Cold weather. This just screams a game to me that yes, I know it's a playoff game like you said, but it just screams like pretenders get exposed game to me is what it screams to me.
yeah, no, you make a good point about every time it seems like Miami played anyone else who's, in that upper echelon of the NFL, they certainly seem to get bossed around a little bit. They had the one impressive win at home against Dallas,
That's what it was.
who is like, the mirror image of the Dolphins at the time, where they also have their struggles against the upper echelon of the NFL. And they're just so much better at home than they are on the road. But yeah, I got nothing against that Chiefs pick. I couldn't advocate for the Dolphins. So God bless you. Hopefully the Chiefs go in there and win by a touchdown.
That'd be great.
My second pick is probably my favorite one of the week. I'm sure this will come back to bite me, but maybe one of my favorite picks of the year. I'm going to take the Rams +3. I think the Rams win the game going away. I've been saying it all year. I do not believe in the Lions team. I think they're one of the more fraudulent teams to ever win a division. I think they finished 12-5, maybe 13-4.
12 and
Um,
5.
yeah, 12-5, and they're just, I don't know. Maybe they go out and prove me wrong and make like a legitimate Super Bowl run. I just think they're so bad. I think they're terrible. I think Dan Campbell's an awful football coach. Has no idea what he's doing. He makes some of the dumbest decisions I've ever witnessed in my fan viewing career. Some of the decisions they make are just mind-boggling. What they did in the draft was pure insanity. I think it's going to completely handicap them going forward. I think they're a one and done pop-up playoff team who's going to fall off the face of the earth. The Lions they haven't won a playoff game in the Super Bowl era, so I don't know why it would change this year. I don't think they're very good. I think the Rams have been rolling. Stafford going back to Detroit. Pretty wild storyline, actually, that he's going to be playing a playoff game in Detroit for another team. I think Sean McVay, once again, proven to be one of the best coaches in the NFL right now. Hell of a year with what the Rams have already done. I think they go into Detroit and take it to them. I'll take the 3 points, but I think there's a hell of a lot of value on that money line. I think the Rams are going to win the game pretty handily.
So I'm not on this game, but if I were to pick a side, it'd be the same side as you. The only thing that has me worried, Jack, as a friend of yours, is I think you were waiting on this fucking pick to pick against Detroit in the playoffs, no matter what. And just part of me is like, is he just picking it because he's been sitting on this like gun cocked, ready to fucking fire, or is this truly his smart, gambling mind thinking? We will see. But if I were to pick a side, it'd be the side you're on. I big picture agree with you that I don't think Detroit's a legitimate contender for a Super Bowl. Maybe we'll both be wrong. And I do like the Rams as also a sneaky team in the NFC that can do some things. But I don't know. I just part of me worries that you've been ready for that one for a little bit of time. That's my only concern. But that's just knowing you. That's not talking about the pick. All right, my third pick of the week. Uh, they're going down to Tampa. Jalen Hurts is hurt, but I like the Eagles -3 at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I just think it's good value. You see the Bucks last week with a win to get in game, kind of struggle with the Panthers. They're not world beaters. I know the Eagles have their flaws. I know the Eagles are very unlikely to go on a Super Bowl run here, but I still like their chances to take care of business this week. It's only a 3 point number. Eagles -3 at Tampa Bay. That's my third pick of the week.
Yeah, I got I got nothing much to say. That game is very similar to my thoughts on the Kansas City Miami game in the sense of I'm not on Philadelphia myself just because I feel like it's, a lot of times you can get caught up on betting on what a team was and what your expectations of them might be, and you sort of neglect to factor what they have been.
What they've done recently.
Um, and that's just kind of for Kansas City and the Eagles. I don't know if I have the balls to bet against them, considering their recent larger data set of what they've been doing.
Sure.
But I can't back them either. I can't get wrapped. I can't convince myself that they're suddenly going to flip the switch. But they very well could. They're both you know, defending NFC champs, defending AFC champs. Chiefs got a lot more history than just defending AFC champs. They've been doing a lot of good things ever since number 15 showed up with Andy Reid down there. So, yeah, I got nothing against that Eagles pick. I mean, I'm shocked that the Bucks had the year that they had. I would have thought they were going to be in the tank type mode. I would have thought like maybe Panthers Bucks type seasons would have been flipped. So good for Baker Mayfield, man. What a year down in Tampa Bay and Mike Evans. I mean, that man's about to get paid. Maybe in Chicago. Um, my last pick, I'm gonna go to the early slate on Sunday. Gonna be a wild weather game. I think the Steelers are sort of darlings. I think a lot of people like Mike Tomlin getting almost 10 points. I'm gonna take Buffalo minus 9.5. They're talking about 25, 30 mile per hour winds. Sounds like it could be a little fluky-ish of a game up in Orchard Park. Probably going to be a good amount of snow during the game as well. I just think that what Buffalo has been doing since Joe Brady's taken over in the run game has been nothing short of impressive. Um, TJ Watt is not going to be playing. The Pittsburgh Steelers are a proven to be a bad football team the past couple years. When TJ Watt is not on the field, he's been that big of a difference maker for them. I think Buffalo at home just takes it to them. I think it's going to be ugly. I'm pretty sure the number on that game is like 34 or something. Like it's going to be low scoring. Winds are going to be out of control. Weather game for sure. I just don't think Mason Rudolph and that Steelers offense is going to be able to move the ball at all against the Buffalo defense has been extremely stout down the stretch of the season. I know Allen does the mesmerizing things at times despite his turnover issues, but it's really been that defense that sort of carried him with McDermott turning it around down the stretch of the season. I've been saying it for a long time that I like Buffalo to sort of make a Super Bowl run. I'm a little worried. I do think the Ravens are going to be a tough out. I don't know who's going to beat them, but I think Buffalo handles business pretty easily at home this week, despite the weather. I like them to cover that 9.5.
Yeah, man. Interesting number, especially given the way that the over under is shifted. It's all the way down at 33 and a half. I
Yeah,
don't know exactly what the weather situation is. Last I saw, there's a ton of snow already, and that they're looking for help to clear it. But I don't know if it's going to be windy. I don't know if there's going to be more snow. I don't know how frigid the temperatures are going to be. But that's a game at first glance. I kind of had the same thought as you. Is I like Buffalo in a rout, despite Pittsburgh kind of always being respectable, a tough team. I like Buffalo in a route in that game, but the weather being too much of an unknown for me is part of the reason why I stayed off that. One last thing before we wrap things up. The one game we didn't touch on is the Green Bay Packers going to Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys are 7-point favorites in that game. Pretty big total at 51 points. Any thoughts on that game? You like Green Bay as like a sneaky dog to make some noise, or you think Dallas is just a step up from where Green Bay's at right now?
I do not. I like Dallas a lot in that game. It wasn't part of my three pack. I sort of bantered with you before we started the video, saying how I was kind of joking, like we could pick all six if you want to.
Yeah.
And I would have been on the Cowboys if push came to shove. It's a big number against a Green Bay team who's been playing really well. It's tough to watch what Jordan Love's been doing, but he's been arguably the best quarterback in the NFL the last month and a half of the season. He's got 18 touchdowns, one interception, with literally no talent around him
A bunch of second
besides
round guys.
besides Aaron Jones.
Yeah, fifth
But
round.
yeah, they're just Bo Melton and like these just guys no one's
Dontavian
ever heard
Wicks.
of. Yeah, I mean, maybe they're just young players and they will prove to be good and they
I
are
mean, no,
good,
but you're
whatever.
right.
But
Dontavian Wicks, who just caught 2 touchdowns against the Bears, is a fifth round rookie out of West Virginia. You're right. He's
right,
throwing. He
yeah,
does have like I want to say Christian Watson was a second rounder, and I want to say that Jaden Reed was a second rounder. But everybody else, like, there's no first rounders. There's no other second rounders. Like you're talking about mid and late round guys who are contributing. And honestly, not to go on a huge tangent, but part of what is starting to convince me in my brain, my stupid meatball Chicago Bears brain, that you got to move on from Chicago Fields is because when you think of the great quarterbacks, they could throw it to anybody, and all of a sudden those guys are contributing at least a little bit. The Bears, they don't have weapons other than DJ Moore, and you could argue Cole Kmet's like a nice piece at tight end. I don't know if you call him like a huge weapon, but nobody else is even like contributing, and that's got to be a I'm forgetting the word I'm thinking of, but that's got to be a red flag on Fields because if you're a good quarterback, those guys are at least giving you something, and nobody's giving you
mm,
anything on the Bears. And
yeah,
I like Fields. This isn't a Bears video. I like Fields. I'll root for him, but I think it's time to move on. But I think if this Packers Cowboys game was somehow in Lambeau, I think I'd be all over the Packers. But I think since it's at Jerry World, I think the Cowboys are the play, and I think they're going to look like the faster, better team out there. But maybe I'm wrong.
yeah. No, I agree. Like I kind of mentioned when we touched on it about how the Dolphins sort of you said you like the Chiefs because it
Yeah,
seems like every time the Dolphins take a step up, they can't really handle it the way that they beat up on the lower teams. And I mentioned how they did beat Dallas, but Dallas is such a different team at home versus how they are on the road. I mean, if San Francisco could somehow slip up, I could, maybe Dallas finally makes that Super Bowl run because yeah, I don't see anyone beating them in Dallas. They're such a different team. They're so good at home. What CD Lamb has done this year is someone who probably carried. I had a good team, but he carried me through a lot of
oh yeah,
injuries in the regular season. In fantasy football, he just is a freak, man.
he's
What
a
he
fucking
did this
stud.
year. I mean, if Lamar is probably the rightful MVP, but Dak's number two in my eyes. He had a hell of a season too. They're just a good team. I think they're going to score a lot of points. I think there's a lot of interesting like prop opportunities in that game. I could see the over yards for Love or over passing attempts for Love, like random things like that for the Packers. But no, I can't wrap my head around backing them. I just was a little scared off on the sense of the Packers to, hate to say it, they just have been, pretty solid down the stretch. Other than that, barely sneaking by Carolina, which is why I do think this game just goes crazy with points because they're not going to be able to stop Dallas from scoring. It's just a matter of if Dallas can finally turn Jordan Love over a time or two and get enough stops themselves to cover that number. But I don't see, I don't see Green Bay possibly winning. Maybe they keep it tight, but I like the Cowboys.
Right on. All right, quick recap for picks. Jack is on the Buffalo Bills -9.5 at home versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's on the Rams +3 as they go into Detroit to take on the Lions, and he is on the Houston Texans +2 at home versus the Cleveland Browns. While on the flip side, I am on the Cleveland Browns -2 going to Houston. I'm also on the Chiefs -4.5 at home versus Miami in the cold, and then the Eagles -3 on the road at Tampa Bay. Those are the 6 picks of the week. Um, Honestly, I'll probably lock a four-way parlay with our non-head-to-heads, and then I'll probably just do my side on the head-to-head there. But those are the picks. Like and subscribe if you're new here. Probably won't bring a Bears video this week. We'll probably come back in a couple weeks once the dust settles with the coordinators. Maybe we get a little bit more clarity after maybe coordinator press conferences on maybe what we can expect going into the offseason. Um, every day is a grind out there for Bears fans, so just stay strong and try not to get too high or too low. But like and subscribe. We'll be back next round with more picks. Any last words for the fans out there, Jake?
No, yeah, we'll be ready to cook on that Bears video. We'll be bringing the heat, but like you said, I think it's probably best to just wait until the dust settles with the coordinators, just because if we do one and then we do one after the coordinators, I think it'll just be a little bit of regurgitation, which is that's daily sports talk, I guess. So it's not the worst thing in the world, but yeah, I think it's best to hold off on that in regard to that note. And then lastly, like I kind of said a little bit ago, we got 13 of these things left. After this weekend gets cut down real quick. So enjoy it. This is the last like full weekend of football, and then we really start getting down to the nitty gritty. So make sure you soak it all in, enjoy every second of it, and hopefully next year we'll just be hyping up the Bears this time of year. All right,
Yeah, would love to see the Bears in the playoffs next year.
Bears.
Bears. All right, peace out, brother.